and then 10 a day, 30 a day, 60 a day, despite all the medications the doctors were giving her, and they didn't know what to do. So they sent her to the doctors in New York. They didn't know what to do. And they sent her to the doctors in Boston. They didn't know what to do, but there was an old doctor there, and he said, she reminds me of somebody with Rasmussen's encephalitis. And he told the parents, with that disease, the seizures get worse and worse no matter what you do, and eventually you'll have to put her in an institution. And eventually she'll die. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. Well, they were devastated. Their beautiful, precious little girl, nothing anybody could do. But the mother would never give up, and she went to the library, and she read everything she could read about epilepsy and encephalitis. And she discovered some of the work we were doing at Johns Hopkins with hemispherectomies. And they brought her down for an evaluation. My colleagues and I felt that she was a good candidate for that operation. And when I explained to the parents the risk of surgery, that she might not be able to speak, she might be paralyzed on one side, she might be in a coma, or she might die, they said, thank you, doctor, but no thank you. We couldn't live with ourselves if she was in a coma, or she died and we never had a chance to say goodbye. So they took their little girl, seizures and all, back to Connecticut. And that Christmas, she was in a play. And while she was on stage, she had a grand mal seizure. Arms and legs jerking, eyes rolled back, foaming at the mouth, incontinent of urine. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. They brought her back. They wanted the operation. I performed the operation, took out the left half of her brain. Everything went well except for one thing. She didn't wake up. She stayed in a coma. The day went by, 2 days, 3 days, still in a coma. Every time I went in the room, the parents were there grieving about their decision. I really felt for them. And a week went by. She still loved Mr. Rogers. They would play tapes of Mr. Rogers singing, saying poetry. Didn't wake her up. 2 weeks, still didn't wake her up. 3 weeks went by. She was off the respirator, but still in a coma. Mr. Rogers heard about her. Came all the way to Baltimore with all of his puppets to her bedside to try to wake her up. Didn't wake her up. 4 weeks went by, a whole month. Still in a coma. It was 2 a.m. in the morning. Her dad was lying on a cot next to her bed, and she said, Daddy, my nose itches. He was so excited, he jumped up and he ran out in the hallway. She talked, only had on his underpants. Everybody came out to see what all the commotion was. And, that was the beginning of her recovery. In no time, she was walking, she was talking, she wasn't having seizures anymore. Now they were really worried, because it was time for her to go back to school, and she was missing the left half of her brain, the side that allows you to calculate. They said she'll never be able to do math, but she was so determined, she worked so hard. The next year she had the highest math average in her class, and she did that with half of her brain. That's how fascinating the brain is. That's that plasticity that I was talking about. The whole brain is the most amazing organ system in the universe.
Okay, Zoe.
Thank you. Dealing with the issue of prejudice, do you see a solution and or response to it?
I'll tell you my solution. My solution is to become a neurosurgeon. I was asked by an NPR, National Public Radio reporter. She said, Dr. Carson, I notice you don't talk about race very often. Why is that? And I said, it's because I'm a neurosurgeon. She looked at me quizzically. What the heck does that have to do with it? That's what she was thinking. She didn't say that. But I could see what she was thinking. I said, you see, when I take someone to the operating room, and I cut the scalp and peel it down, and take off the bone flap, and open the dura, I am operating on the thing that makes that person who they are. The cover doesn't make them who they are. The brain makes them who they are. That's the solution. When people begin to think deeply and not superficially, that will make the difference.
So we have had some wonderful questions. I know we have the other site at Nova Southeastern University. We have some lurkers. They're educators. Daryl Diamond, she's also on the board for the United States Distance Learning Association. Do you guys have a question on your end that you want to ask?
I first want to tell you how delightful this whole conversation has been, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I want to commend you also for gathering the different schools together, because we're here today to see how we can have different people around the globe participate in topics of conversation that are meaningful to them, and you've definitely demonstrated that this can be done seamlessly. And I want to also commend the students at the multiple sites for their insightful questions. You really have made us all as educators very proud of you today as well. So thank you for letting us participate in this with you.
We're thankful that you all are interested in doing that. And you know, one of the things that's really wonderful, you know, we look at the statistics and we see how we're behind in science, math, and so many areas vis-a-vis other places in the world. But one of the ways to fix that is through technology. We have advanced technology. We're going to be able to take the very best teachers and put them in front of 1 million students instead of 30 students. We're going to be able to use virtual classrooms to appeal to the interest of those kids whose brains are in fast motion because they spend all their time with video games. We're going to be able to take advantage of the way those things are done, because, you know, we have to recognize that things are changing and we can't necessarily go back to the good old days. We have to adapt to what days that we have and use the technology and the information that we have to put ourselves where we should be, which is at the forefront and not at the tail.
So I'd like to thank Dr. Carson. We were just talking about, you know, how many years we've been doing this, and he's generously done this. This is year 9 that he's connected every year for our students. He's connected all over the world. Next year will be our 10th anniversary, and we just like to give him a round of applause for taking the time out, because we know he has a busy schedule to connect with the students and with other people that are watching this event. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
You can open up your mics.